I'm going to talk about two aspects of colour today, which is the colour that we see outside, and which is what is the light, the colour that comes from light, and then pigments as well. So light, this is our spectrum of colour. And at school, I was taught to remember the light spectrum as Roy G. Biv. So it's always easy to remember. And this is our light carries this colour in wavelengths. So each colour has a wavelength. And light itself doesn't have colour, but the wavelengths do, if that makes sense. So this was first put into aspect by Isaac Newton when he did the little prism. He'd sort of push past light through a prism and he saw the colour spectrum laid out. So it gave us an understanding of colour. So these wavelengths are come in different strengths. So these colours, the warmer colours, red, orange, yellow, are the weakest. And then the violets, blue, indigo, violet, is the strongest colourway. So it's really important artistically to remember that, because it helps us with especially in our outdoor light. But that being said, when we're outdoors, and a lot of our subjects as animal artists, our subjects are outdoors, this is what comes into play. This is our whole source of light and affects our colour. So if we had a really tall tree, we have the light up here. So say this is our sun, and we've got this whole spectrum of light coming down, and we've got a really tall tree here that's blocking the light. And if it's on, say, green grass, this shadow that's cast, these three colours, this tree is going to stop these three colours because they're weak. So when the light is stopped, what we're left with is these cooler, the violets. So that's why there's a guideline of warm light, cool shadows. And it's only a guideline because it doesn't always apply, and you've got to adjust that yourself. So sometimes you can have a really cool shadow, sometimes you have warm light and you can have quite a warmish shadow and it works better. But there's always guidelines with colour, and you've got to sort of, again, sift through and know some guidelines are really important and others you can play with a little bit. But the understanding of how these light waves works, helps you with your lighting situations. So indoors, and on an overcast day, your light's going to be cooler. A fluorescent light, my light's quite cool in here, even though it's daylight globes. So your shadow is going to be a bit warmer. And also it affects the distance. So where I'm sitting now, I look out and about 30 kilometres away, it's on the horizon of hills. And this morning, they're really light cobalt blue. And as the hills progress closer, they're getting warmer, a little bit darker grey. If I drove up to those hills, they'd be covered in green trees. But from where I am sitting, the distant hills are really pale blue. And that is, again, because the light that's carried, the colour that's carried with the light, these colours being weak are dropping out of the atmosphere. And so we're left with the strongest violets and blues, and that's why those hills are blue. So as they progress forward, they're getting warmer. It's sort of how you structure, how you can use colour to give you that aerial perspective. It's the same if I stand at the fence, the grass has dried off, so the grass in front of me is going to be quite warm, and as it moves away with the distance, it's just going to lose that warmth and it's going to get cooler and grayer. So the first colour to drop out of the atmosphere is yellow, and then a red, and that's why we're left with blue. So those ultraviolet wavelengths are what colours the sky, because the atmosphere doesn't have colour, it's just all the water molecules and the gases out there, and they're the ones that reflect the strong or absorb the strongest colour wave. So our sky turns blue, like water's doesn't have a colour, but it reflects the sky. So just keep that in mind, that if ever you have to do a landscape, you can give that impression of aerial perspective by moving away cooler and lighter your colours do get lighter.